Folks, you're with Tacitus today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for joining this live stream. I've noticed over the last week or so that nearly all the Western countries, certainly the English-speaking ones, have been producing polls or studies, or alleged polls and alleged studies, I should say, that assert that Western citizens don't care even the slightest about, not at all, about mass immigration and illegal immigration, all this sort of thing, and all the illegals arriving and being treated with kid gloves and being given free this and free that. No, the local citizenry don't care about that. They care about things like transgender rights. They care about combating white supremacy. They care about all the fascists and Nazis that are everywhere. Hitler. That's what they care about. They don't care about that other stuff. Climate change and rooting out racism. Racists are everywhere. Hitler. So those are the things they care about. So we're told. But does anybody actually believe that? Now, there's a few polls, alleged polls, that say that people are concerned about the economy, for example. But in every poll, certainly that I've seen, illegal or mass migration, illegal migration, just manages to scrape in the top 10 issues, often finishing at number 11 or 12 and that sort of thing. So depending on which one you look at, somewhere between, say, about 15 and about 20% of the population say that they care even a little bit or somewhat or a lot. So really, there's it just doesn't rate. So the government, Western governments are telling us. Now, it does depend on who you ask. If you ask the wealthy sort of 1 or 2%, they see migration as a source of cheap labour to mend defences, clean the swimming pools, do the odd jobs, mow the lawn, and do that sort of flunky grunt work. That's what they see, and that they don't really sort of see migration beyond that. And they live in suburbs where there may be some very super wealthy Chinese that move in, but you don't really see much of them. They're not around on the street in gangs walking around. They don't despoil the neighborhood in the sense of, they often cut down a lot of trees, by the way, but they don't they're not defecating in the gutters and things like that. So really the life of these people is unchanged. The suburbs that have been totally taken over by illiterate, unruly peasants, they're a long way away. They're a world away from the nice, leafy, clean, quiet, manicured lawn suburbs that these folks live in. So they don't see immigration as a problem, and the immigrants that they do know are people who have arrived with lots of money, and they're quite sophisticated, cultured people. So with those people around them, then they there's a guy who got just down the road from some friends of ours. Some people moved in, and he's a South African scientist, very bright guy, very cultured, white guy, and they arrived with quite a bit of money. He's got an excellent job that pays very well. Children go to expensive private schools and so on. So they're not people who are going to cause any trouble. They're out to integrate and to integrate as quickly as they can, to make friends with the locals, that sort of thing. They're not out to hang out with only their diaspora from some dirt poor basket case country in some tribal village out in the middle of nowhere. They're not doing that. So those people integrate well, and you'd be hard pressed to think ill of them. So that's the sort of shot that they get. Now, in the area that I live in, it's 98, 99% white. I would see a a black person like down in the main street or in the, I don't know, in the supermarket or the grocery store, I would see maybe one every few months. That you just don't see them around. A few Asians, even at the peak of the holiday, the school holiday season, that sort of thing. You don't see very many. It's not like there's a major tourist resort here where you get the bus loads of tourists that get dumped by the 100 and start walking around. You just don't see that here. So when I ask people in the local neighbourhood, they shrug and say, well, immigration doesn't really affect them. It's not something they encounter. It doesn't affect their lives. So they're not fussed one way or another. But when you ask them, well, would you give up your job for an immigrant, or should your children give up their college, their university places for some immigrant that can't speak English that has arrived here illegally, or are you prepared to give up anything yourself to aid and abet and assist these people? Oh, no. No. The taxpayer has to pay it. I'm not giving up a single thing. And if I have to give up a single thing, then I don't agree with immigration. So now the other side is the media and the government and the public service are really have an absolute, I don't know, it's very censorious. You're simply not allowed to say negative things about non-white people in any way. They're in some of these suburbs. You just wouldn't go there. Gangs roam around, car thefts, and every manner of crime is off the charts. But this is never reported to media. Don't touch it. And if there is a string of non-white people, say, committing murders or something like that, the first response the media does is to say that everyone else is a racist by being concerned about it. So people are shamed into silence and that sort of stuff by a very concerted and very, very tightly scripted and organised propaganda campaign to make sure that mass migration isn't seen in a negative light. But to do that, they've got to tell lots of endless lies. They've got to conceal information by the boatload and the truckload. They've got to push an outrageously untrue narrative, coordinated between media, government, and public service and NGOs and so on. So only because of that wall of silence and wall of censoring can they keep the matter under wraps. If the truth came out, then in mass immigration and illegal immigration will get a terrible bad name. And any government that was responsible to the people, which I don't think is any Western government anymore, would then have a tough time in justifying it or keeping it going. But they're absolutely determined under globalist instruction. Every Western government is absolutely determined to keep the mass immigration up at a high tempo and permit the illegal immigration and to crush anyone that speaks out against it or questions it. So that's going. So if you go to areas where where mass immigration has particularly hit the locals, in most cases the locals have moved out. So, but if you talk to them and then they hate it, they don't like it at all. And they don't mind immigration. Only we need to put some perspective. They don't mind immigration. They mind that people who come from third world basket case countries that don't speak a lick of English, you don't have any skills or anything like that those people are coming in and they're allowed to all create these massive ghettos, entire suburbs. That's what they're concerned about. They're concerned about the behaviour of these people, not that they're immigrants or that they're not white. And there's confusion there. It's the outrageous behaviour, the gangs of youths and so on that rampage around these suburbs. The drug gangs and the shootouts in the street between the drug gangs and all that sort of stuff. So really if you look at the if the veil came off, if the media did report on all these things, and because a disproportionate, huge amount of crime in the country is committed by these people. So if the government reports this, if the media reports this, and the government is duty bound to do something about it, as the people want, then immigration would be a hugely contentious issue. It's only because they've got a complete and total blackout and lockdown on the any negative information about it that makes it even remotely sustainable. Similarly, the people who are most affected by it are the lower working class people, which they can dismiss as just troglodytes and that sort of thing. When you start moving up the value chain of immigration, then the issue becomes less and less, although still present. I took a train ride recently, and a woman in a sitting, an elderly woman, I suppose she'd be about 70, and she said the one thing she's really concerned about was half of her street now is full of Indians and Chinese, and she didn't like that. Now you can say, "Wow, she's a racist, she's Hitler," but she had some genuine complaints about the behaviour of these people, and that was something that she was concerned about. So it wasn't a racist comment at all. It was the behaviour that was concerned. But I don't believe these polls for a minute. I don't know if you do. These polls saying that no one cares about immigration, they do, and only the people who are completely unaffected by it or who benefit and profit by it are there. But if the truth was told about immigration, the cost of it, the effect of it, how it depresses wages and this sort of thing, then I don't think anybody would support it, or the amount of people supporting it, or even being not caring about it, that there would be hardly anybody. So only the censoring of negative information is what keeps the thing going, which really sums up the globalist project in its entirety. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.